Praise the Lord, everybody. Welcome to another Link Couple Session. We're so glad that you can join us this month. Every month on the third Tuesday at 7 o'clock, we come together to have discussions on marriage, relationships, and we want you to tune in. And please do us a favor and share if you can. Let people know that we're on this evening. And we're so glad that you can join us again. And we look forward to sharing with you each month, but also some of the new things you're going to see from just the ministry in general. We're working on some new things, and we're so glad that you all are joining us on this journey. So again, please share if you can. Our Link Couples Ministry is for all of our married and engaged couples. Those who are serious in commitment, ready to get married. We have a ministry just for those groups. And again, we're so glad you can join us online since we're not open in person and we're doing this virtually. Now, for the past few months, we've been talking about different tips on how to have difficult conversations. We went over some arguing tips a few months ago. We went over conflict management, how to have difficult conversations, understanding that the burden of communication is on the speaker and not the hearer. It's not my job to be It's my job to be understood, in the sense that I have to be clear enough so the person knows what I'm talking about. It just gets me when you're in a conversation with somebody and you should know what I mean. No, I don't know what you mean. Say what you mean. So I know how to fix it, know how to respond, know how to have the conversation. People are not mind readers. So the burden of communication is on the speaker. We talked a lot about staying on topic, on arguing tips, and focusing on fixing the problem. If you missed those sessions, go back and watch them on the YouTube or the Facebook page, and we believe they'll be a blessing to your life, so that every argument, every difficult conversation doesn't turn into World War III. You can fix the problem with minimal damage, because the goal of having these difficult conversations is to bring two people back together again, not to further separate, but to come to a place of understanding, come to a place of agreement where both of you find a deeper connection through difficult conversations. Now, those difficult conversations work well when you're friends. Difficult conversations work well when you're friends. Friends know how to have difficult conversations. Friends know how to have difficult conversations. The thing about a lot of people, when they jump into a relationship, they don't build the friendship first. They build the companionship out of, emotion. I'm glad to be with you and whatever. But the friendship is really what keeps the relationship. Because friendship is supposed to be the foundation, because friends consider the other before themselves. Friends are sacrificial. Friends are loving. Friends are kind. So if you have that type of relationship, because not all friends can be good mates, but your mate should be your friend. Not every good friend can be a mate, but your mate should be your friend. So if you focus on building the friendship, that makes the relationship better. A lot of times, this generation, they jump right into intimacy and forget about the friendship and wonder why they can do things but can't have conversations, because there is no friendship. So it's important to remember that all of us need to build that friendship in relationship. All right. And with that comes trust. So friendship, trust. Trust gives the person space to say things to you. Trust gives the person the space, the ability, the qualification to have difficult conversations with you. Trust is important. And without trust, it's difficult to have these conversations, because if I trust you that you're not trying to hurt me, but you're trying to help us, it's easier for me to receive what you're saying. If I'm defensive in this communication, I don't trust you and I don't trust your motive. It could be because of an insecurity in me that has nothing to do with the other person, or because there was some damage done in a relationship. But the reality is, if you fix trust, that fixes money, communication. All those things are really tied to trust. So friendship, build that. Trust, build that. Because where there's trust, there's safety. They go hand in hand. Where there's trust, there is safety. Next thing, I want you to always remember this and have difficult conversations. The small foxes spoil the vine. The small foxes spoil the vine. It's the small things that need to be fixed before it gets big. It's the small things that need to be fixed before it gets big. So how does this work? In any good relationship, you see everything, right? You pay attention to nuance. You pay attention to things that are going on, and you say things before they become a bigger issue. Now, I'm trying to draw the line between being nitpicky and saying something before it evolves into a bigger issue. Because if you're always bringing up problems all the time, issues, first off, there's something that needs to be fixed in a relationship. That's number one. Number two, you can come across as a complainer, as a nitpicker. So what do? You see a small problem, it grinds you, and you know it's going to become a bigger issue later. Have the conversation before it gets bigger. Sometimes we make the mistake of not saying anything until it gets big. And by the time it gets big, you come out in the conversation like a caged animal where the door's finally open and you come out on attack mode. Now, and the person has no idea you've had built up resentment over a number of months, years, or however long it is. And then you're throwing all that resentment on them at one time. And they're like, why are you finally telling me now? Well, I thought you knew. Well, how would I know unless you tell me? Learn to fix problems before they get bigger later. Learn to fix problems before they increase in size later. Because, again, it's the small foxes that spoil the vine. It's the small things that continue to mess things up. The next thing I want you to remember, after forgiveness, trust, and paying attention to the small things, fixing the small before they get big, I want you to remember this: repetition, volume, proximity. Repetition, volume, proximity. What do I mean by that? When you're having a difficult conversation, you're making sure you're clear in what you're saying. And sometimes you have to say it more than once. This is exactly how I feel. This is what it is. And I define it. This is exactly what it is. Not ongoing like 50 times, but I'm just making sure I'm very clear in what I'm saying. Volume. Remember your volume. You don't have to go up there to get your point across. It's like saying the name Jesus. You can whisper it and it works, and yell it and it works. Volume. Because sometimes the person will get so hung up on your volume, they're not listening to what you're saying. So volume. Next thing, proximity. One of the problems that grinds my gears about people, right, and having conversations with some people, is when they talk around the point and never actually get to the point. Land the plane. Land the plane. I get sharing your thought process. I get sharing how you're thinking, and do that. But land the plane. Don't talk around the thing. And some people talk around the thing because they're afraid to actually say what it is. They're afraid if I say this, what's going to happen. So if any relationship, let me throw this in here, any relationship where you have to suffer in silence because you're afraid to talk is not a good relationship. Any relationship you have to suffer in silence because you're afraid to talk is not a good relationship. So we have to be able to understand that if I'm going to bring something up, I have the strength to bring it up. There's trust there to bring it up, and I don't just dance around the thing. I actually get to the point. All right. So because you'll never get it fixed if you're dancing around the point. Next thing. You got to know how men and women argue, and pay attention to this. Bishop puts it like this: women do well processing, articulating. It's like women process as they talk, and as they're talking, they're processing. It's all a simultaneous action at the same time. That's why women can be better in arguments than men if he wasn't raised by his mother, or if he wasn't paying attention. They'll process and articulate. Men process, contemplate, articulate. We think about it, we contemplate on it, then we say something. So a woman is just this, by shaking her head back there. You know what I'm talking about. This, boom, 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 boom. And then he's sitting there like, okay, you ain't got nothing to say? And he'll say some stuff. And then 2 days later, I don't like it when you say so-and-so, so-and-so. And she's like, why are you bringing it up now? Because usually there's a delay there. We process, we contemplate, we articulate. We think through the thing before we say it. Right? And there's usually that delay. Like I remember it. Somewhere he's driving down the street and boom, it hits him. He's mowing the grass and boom, the point finally hit. It makes sense of what's going on. Because why? He's processing and contemplating everything you said. Now, a lot of men who were raised by women who are used to talking to them, they can go back and forth. We still process, contemplate, and articulate. It's just sped up faster. And let's be real here. Some of y'all ladies, y'all know this about men. That's why y'all get over in some arguments. But that's a whole nother lesson right there. Y'all act like, oh, I don't know. I'm not doing. Yeah, you know exactly what you're doing. It takes him a minute and you throw it out there on him and he's all in a tizzy. All right. And the reality is that, there has to be, again, if you're looking at fixing the problem, not winning the argument. This is for both men and women. It's not about getting over. It's about let's come to a resolve where both people are satisfied. But understanding that men and women primarily articulate and argue differently. That's why if a group of women are around each other, they're talking all over each other and all four of them understand what everybody said. I don't know how y'all watch that Housewives show and everybody's arguing back and forth, but y'all all in. I'm like, can everybody shut up and let one person talk? And y'all be all in like, and she said, and she said, and she said. You're around a group of men talking, it's very rare they'll jump in or over talk somebody. They may cut in, but it's not like the Royal Rumble where it's just everybody in at one time. It's just a difference in the approach. Right. But we understand that both people do things differently and compensate for that. Next thing, whenever there's an argument, it's usually, watch this, y'all, the man in the woman and the woman in the man having the conversation or vice versa. It's either the man in the woman or the woman in the man that's butting heads. Or vice versa, the man in the man or the woman in the woman. If the woman came out of a man, so a woman was in man first, men now come out of women. It's the man versus the man, the woman versus the woman, or the man in the woman and the woman in the man. Usually when it's a territorial fight, that's when both men are arguing. If it's emotional, both women are arguing. All right, because inside of both of us is a measure of the two, if I can say it like that. And sometimes the arguments are over territory or emotion. And you're going back and forth, especially if one is territorial and one is emotion, y'all having this whole mix up, or if it's both territorial, y'all butting heads. Okay. But again, the whole premise is we're having this discussion so we can come to a resolve, not who wins the argument. We told you before, you're trying to win the argument when you have to have the last word all the time. Are you cool? Yeah, I'm cool. Oh, but just one more thing. And you dump it on there just so you can lay one more bomb out there and walk away. And the reality is that pride wants you to always have the last word. Humility says, you know what? The conversation's over. We fixed it. Let's move on. Next thing. This is going to be a little difficult. Know when you're being too sensitive and reading into things. Know when you're being too sensitive and reading into things. Sometimes it's not what the person said or did. It's how we filtered what they said or did. It's how we interpreted what they said or did. And whenever a problem comes up in a relationship, you have to ask yourself the question, am I justified in how I feel, or am I just being too sensitive? Is this my issues talking, or did the person actually do wrong? And sometimes, if we're honest, it's not that the person did or said anything wrong. We filtered what they did or said through our own issues, and we interpreted it as wrong. So maybe, one day they had a bad day. Every day is, hey, how you doing? Glad to see you. We're home. And then one day they have a hard day and they come in, hey, oh my God, you're not happy to see me? Yo, can I get in the door? It's not, it's not about you. It's just, I'm tired. I had a crazy day. But again, when you're in a position, when you're overly sensitive about some things, you read into them too much. And we have to ask ourselves the question, is it my filter? Is it my interpretation? Or is it what the person did or what they said? In growth, you're growing when you can recognize your own sensitivities and recognize your own negative attributes are filtering life in the wrong way. And again, sometimes it's not what the other person did or said, it's our filter, and we're just being too sensitive. How do I know this? If on a Tuesday, if this happened, you wouldn't feel any type sort of way. But on a Thursday, when you're real sensitive, you do. That's how you kind of know you're just being too sensitive that day. Because any other day, that wouldn't have bothered you. But that day, and it happens to all of us, but that day it did. You have to check yourself to see, am I just being too sensitive? Sometimes we bring our rejection issues into things. And our rejection issues or our offensive issues or our trust issues cause us to filter and experience through our negativity rather than reality. Next thing. Please do not say nothing is wrong when something is clearly wrong. Please do not say nothing is wrong when something is clearly wrong. Stop lying. Somebody asks you, what's wrong? Nothing. What's wrong? I'm okay. What's wrong? Nothing. And then watch what happens. Every time they ask you what's wrong and you keep saying nothing, guess what's going to happen? One day they're not going to ask you. They're going to look at you and tell something's wrong. Or watch this. They get so used to you saying that everything is fine. And then they'll just look at you and just keep on going about their day. And then you're offended, but like, oh, don't you see I'm offended? Or, well, every time I ask you, is something wrong? Because you look like something's wrong. You keep saying nothing is wrong. What Bishop calls the anatomy of nothing. The more you continue to say nothing's wrong, eventually people will get used to you. And obviously, that's just how you are as a person. Stop lying to yourself and lying to the person. Now, usually people, when they do that, how can I say this? When people keep telling you nothing is wrong when something's clearly wrong, they want you to keep digging and prying. It's just a test. Does this person love me enough to keep trying to pressure me to figure out what's wrong with me? Adults don't have time for all that, y'all. If something's wrong, bump your gums, open your mouth. All right, almost done. Next thing, don't argue in front of the kids or in public. Don't argue in front of the kids or in public. It's not that the kids don't recognize that you have challenges, because every relationship does, but they don't need to hear everything or experience everything. The public doesn't need to see or experience everything. A lot of things could happen in private. You'll tell the kids, hold on real quick, we'll be right back, have the discussion and come out as a unified front and say what you got to say. All right. But don't do that in front of them. Next thing, grow in how you converse. Grow in how you converse. Please grow in how you converse. Talk to each other. How can I better articulate my feelings to you? Is there anywhere in our conversations where I can do better to explain my point? Any way that I can do better listening to you? What can we do to make our arguments more impactful in a positive way? and how it can bring us together. Grow in your communication. That comes with maturity. Comes with maturity. Now, I'm not one that believes that you apologize for stuff that you didn't do wrong. I don't believe in that, because you create a monster if you continue to apologize for stuff you never did. But I do believe we can come to a place of maturity and come to a place of agreement. But we all have to evolve in our conversation. Because again, I didn't marry you to overcome you and defeat you. I married this person so that we can be joint and we can be partners and we can have better good days than bad days. Last point, and I'm done. Ask yourself this question. Does this really have to be a problem? Does it really have to be an argument? Can we just fix this thing in 2 minutes? Does it require a 20-minute discussion? Lord have mercy. Can we fix it fast and just go to sleep? Or, does it require more lengthier conversations? Like, both people ask the question, is this that deep? That's going to require this amount of conversation. Can we just say, you know what? I'm sorry. I'll fix it. Here's what we're going to do better. Bang, done. It works. Can we do that? I think we can. Because again, does the thing have to be an argument? Do we have to waste our time having a 2-hour discussion, 3 days being mad at each other when we could have fixed it in 5 minutes? Always remember this, and I'll close on this. The more mature you are when you're angry, the more calm you become. Maturity translates to calmness and anger. Usually anger throws you off, your brain's off, your thoughts are off, you ain't thinking straight, but maturity allows you to think through and be calm. All right? Because again, does this have to be that big of a deal? Let's just fix it. Let's go eat, have a good time, and be done with it. All right? Everything doesn't have to be a major discussion. You can fix it and move on. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll be back next month with some more conversation around something. And we're just so glad that you guys have joined us today. Don't forget to join us for Bible study tomorrow night at 7 as we continue on our topic of prayer. We're getting ready to close it up in the next few weeks and move on to another topic. But we hope you guys enjoy tonight and see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. for Bible study. God bless you.